I understand Mr. Cusman's, I never thought I'd hear myself say this, position about, community organisations. And the Granada Hills Residents Group is a community organisation. It's here for the purpose of affecting the community. It's not here about being a veteran or about being any of those other things I just said. I think we take this whole area, of political correctness completely overboard. In order to have my position, I am required to be a member of the only eligible organisation in Granada Hills South, which is the Friends of the Granada Hills Library. And, every time a vote comes up about the Friends of the Granada Hills Library, I have to excuse myself and abscond and go out. It's like this weird, go do this and that, and now I'm, affiliated with this organisation. And so I think there's some common middle, I think there's some sensible middle ground here, if only we can find it. We're not talking about discriminating against people on the grounds of any of that list of things that you're not allowed to discriminate against any people are, but you are, I think that there is a point to be made for, other organisations, whether it's the Chamber, the Business Improvement District, the Granada Hills Residents Group, the board. I think there's a point to be made of making sure that, people's other interests. I might also say that if the apartment owners institution came in here and made a play to get on the board, the membership on the board, I might think that they were in cahoots. Down the road here there was this song and dance in Canoga Park about the guy that owns that strip club. He's he's on the board now. That, we should get press like that. So I don't know what the answer is, but I'm just saying that I don't want us, this thing here, I think, is a valid issue and should not be discussed in terms of, general discrimination. It's about.
The thing about this is a neighborhood organization. It's like all neighborhood councils are. And when you have a neighborhood organization like this, who are elected to a city position, even if it's a non-paying one, the people who are going to come out are the people of those organizations that said that they want to support their community even before this organization was formed. So it's not surprising to me that you would have an overabundance of people from the residents group, the chamber, the veterans groups, or any number of organizations that are here to support Granada Hills South. And that's what you get. And we didn't tell somebody, hey, you do this and you do that and we'll all vote. The elections show that by the number of people who come out and vote. And as much as we would like to get more and more people to come out and run, I remember begging Mr. Kuzman, even though we don't get along, I begged him, and a lot of people saw me, and he just said, oh no, I do not want to run, don't want to be a part. So if we can't even get our biggest critic to do what he claims other people are not doing, what are we supposed to do?
Well, first thing is that I think this was a direct reference to Old Granada Hills Residents Group. And
yes.
I think Mr. Kuzman would agree with that. I think he's afraid that Old Granada Hills Residents Group has undue influence on the council. I think that's a crock.
Yeah.
But that's his opinion. I mean, the fact is that active members in Old Granada Hills Residents Group, many of them were the founding members of the neighborhood council.
Exactly.
You can't separate that away, and that fact remains. I mean, Jim Summers was our first neighborhood council president. He was also the co-founder of the Old Granada Hills Residents Group. You can't separate those facts. Okay, those are facts that remain forever. If there is a legitimate concern over a conflict of interest, then the proper thing to do is raise it at a meeting. And if there is actually a conflict of interest, then the members of that group should recuse themselves. And that would go not only for Old Granada Hills Residents Group, but for Chamber of Commerce, or the BID, or the Rotary Club, or the Friends of the Library, or any other group that we have in here. There are procedures in place for recusal if there's a conflict of interest. And those are already in place, and we've seen them in action many, many times in this council, where we've had people who when an issue came up, recused themselves. And I don't think anything else has to be done. I'm very proud of the work Old Granada Hills Residents Group has done over the years with this council and the collaboration, because for the most part, the aims and the goals have been roughly the same, which is to improve the community. I know Mr. Kuzman has a particular problem with a particular part of the community plan, and he's entitled to his opinion. People are entitled to contrary opinions. But that doesn't mean that anyone is running anything. What it means is that legitimate concerns about the community plan were raised, they were put on the agenda, they were transparently discussed and voted on. And that's called democracy. Anyone has a right to do that, whether they be an individual or they be a representative of the community organization.
Yes, Jim.
Yeah, well, this is just a comment in general on this. In the beginning, Old Granada Hills, we didn't have members. We didn't like the neighborhood council. We just sectioned off a place, boundaries, and said everybody's in there. Whether you're a renter, whether you're a homeowner, whether you're a commercial landlord, it was everybody. And that's just what we had. How do you deal with that? Or maybe we should bring that up to the district attorney when you just set out a whole chunk and everybody is in there as more like a stakeholder than a member. So I think that's something we should look into for the future for other groups.
It's all governed by the ethics class we all have to take.
Yeah, we all
It's
did.
not a violation unless you fall into the thing where you have to recuse yourself because of monetary benefit. Otherwise, you have the right to believe and feel the way you want to feel.
And I'm gonna tell you, when it comes to planning and land use issues, people are gonna protect their homes. They're not gonna wanna see the city change something that might affect their property, especially in any adverse way, and you'll get people, that's how the residents group started. When I remember when they were talking about putting a Home Depot over here, I mean, the whole community just rose up and said, oh, hell no. We're not gonna have trucks running down our streets and day workers on every corner, not next to the high school. We said, oh no, you can't do that. And that was the start of the activism of the residents group here in Granada Hills South. So you can't take that away from anybody who wants to get involved. And the issue that, sorry to say, Mr. Kuzman is upset about wasn't presented by us, by the neighborhood council or the residents group. That came from the city, and we said we'd like to meet with you. Anybody could have did that. Everybody has a right to call downtown and call the planning department and says, hey, I understand you're trying to do this, that, and the other. And those meetings, by the way, were all open to the public. Anybody could come. And they were on the website, the city's website, the planning department's website. We did not do anything behind anybody's back because it came from the city. We just said, we raised our hand and said we want to come and speak on this. So I don't understand what this is, and so I'm going to just say take no action.
There's no motion.
No motion.
Going on to grievance section 11.
Section, yeah, page 13.
Okay, there's no violation. You have a community outreach. They report their activities and recommendations. There is nothing in our bylaws that say that they have to meet monthly. And I don't think that it's incumbent upon anybody else to tell what the volunteers on the outreach committee, how often they have to meet.
No, I think you're absolutely right. First of all, because we are volunteers, people have their own private schedules, especially in the summer times, you have vacation. This committee, we do not meet on a regular basis. It depends on what issues come before us that you decide that you're going to have. And then, of course, you have to have a quorum. And you can't always have a quorum. We love to have one every time, but you can't always do that. And the other thing is, we have to try and get the school, we have to get other organizations, because we don't have a permanent place to meet, that we pay for it all, because we don't have it in our budget. So, again, I don't see what action we can take on this, Joe.
I see what action you can take on it, and that would be to strike the word monthly out of the bylaws, so that.
It's not in the bylaws. Or not, no, it says report to the board. It doesn't say they have to meet monthly.
Yeah.
All you have to do is
Well,
have them on the agenda to report.
The basis of the grievance, and Mr. Kuzma can correct me if I'm wrong, the basis of the grievance was that the bylaws committee was not meeting monthly.
That's not what the bylaws requires. It just says report it to the board
Eric?
monthly. So I agree with you, you wanted to take it off. Because they could put it on the agenda and the report could be no.
Look, I've been doing the agenda, and Jim did it before me, for 5 years, 5.5 years. The president makes up the agenda. If there's a report from the outreach committee, then the outreach committee makes that known and goes on the agenda. If there isn't a report, then it doesn't go on the agenda. And that's, to me, there's a tension there between the fact that the bylaws say that the president shall make the agenda, and the requirement, or if you want to look at it as a requirement, that says it make its recommendations to the board monthly at regular council meeting.
Okay, so I second your motion. You want to strike the word monthly.
I say strike the word monthly.
Well, I'm trying to say. if there
Eric,
is-
Eric, before you make a motion,
I'm not making any motion.
well, before they make a motion to do anything, I just want to say that you can probably just pass this one and move on, because I know that the new outreach chairman is planning to start a procedure of having regular meetings as he gets people organized, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Jim? So it's going to become a non-issue here in the future, because the efforts are being made to start having more meetings.
Okay, first of all, I'm reading the bylaws, and on page 10, it says time and place, general meetings, at least quarterly. It doesn't say anything about.
That's general. That's general meetings.
General meetings, special meetings,
Quarterly.
actions, situations, president, special meeting, directors.
Go to the outreach committee, which has a special.
There's no bylaw that says any of the standing committees have to meet on any kind of regular basis.
Yeah.
We do have the budget committee, or I don't know if they meet regularly to do the budget report or not. No, they don't. They just meet to do the
They
budget
meet
as needed for the budget.
Yeah,
So-
there is nothing
so-
on here
so-
that says anything
so
specific
really-
other than the general meeting has to meet at least quarterly.
Okay, he's talking about the section of the bylaws that says this committee, outreach committee, shall report to the board on a monthly basis, and shall inform the board of the committee's outreach efforts for the month. So the motion is to take out the word monthly, so you could just say regular basis.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the motion, because it does say it's a permanent standing committee, it's a report on a monthly basis. And obviously, you can't report on a monthly basis, and some months we don't even have a meeting, and other months they might not have a meeting, so we will be repeatedly in violation of the bylaws.
Yeah.
So if we don't wanna have
It
somebody
removes the
complain,
ambiguity
yeah,
from the
if you
bylaw.
want to eliminate this grievance for the future, you take out the word monthly.
Okay, and what page is that on? 9 and,
I don't know.
Community
My bylaws are
outreach.
the wrong ones. It's permanent standing committee. community
efforts
outreach
for
committee.
the month. Okay, on page 9. Page 9, community outreach, standing, section 1. Page 9, section 1. Community outreach.
Why don't you just?
On line, I guess it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, efforts each month and monthly. So yeah, it would be page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, line 5. Remove month and monthly.
Eric, you know what I'm petting you about?
Yeah. You're ruining my pants.
We know now Dave's left, then we'll
Okay.
give it up.
Okay. Give me that one, give me that one.
Okay, who's making the motion?
I do.
And I second it.
The motion is simply to strike reference to the words monthly and monthly.
Don't you just call on the various committees at the end of the meeting, if you have anything to say?
Yeah, if they have any report, but normally if there's a report, well,
The
in my
president-
experience.
No, the president is asking the committees, do you have a report? If you don't have a report, I'm not gonna put it on the agenda. We'd be in violation of the bylaws if he doesn't ask if there's a report when there's no, when the bylaw person says, I don't have a report this month.
I can just say what my practice has been, and I think Jim's practice was the same when he was president, and that would be to contact, just send out an email and ask the committee members if they had a report or
That's a
anything,
practice.
or at a meeting. And you're generally aware as president, because you're ex officio anyway, of all the meetings anyway, so. But the president has the right to set the meeting, and I never put a committee report on there unless there was an indication from the committee chair that they had a report. You know, in other words, there's no sense of going to the beautification committee and saying, do you have a report? And they say no.
Okay, so like I said, page 9, section 1, outreach committee, strike line 5, it's got month or monthly from that language.
Other question, it doesn't, I think Bonnie's right, it only says that the outreach chair should give a monthly report to the board.
It doesn't say it has to have a meeting, it just says a
But
report.
if you don't give the report, you violated the
Right,
bylaws.
we might miss a month.
And then you're in
okay.
violation. In order to eliminate that as a
I
future
mean,
grievance.
part of the
you use
reason we're
word out.
here is to try to clean up some of the.
Some of this language, yeah.
So,
And it doesn't, it's just, we want to have the reports, understanding, that's the way the communication is. But there might be a time we miss a month, like a summer month or something like that.
Yeah, usually it's the summer months that become very,
Okay.
people start going on vacations and everything. I know next month I won't be here. I'm going on vacation. Okay, next.
Can we vote on this?
Oh, yeah, we vote on strike,
On remove the word monthly.
month or monthly. Any reference to month or monthly, under, the, community outreach, or any committee, even. But I think community outreach was the only one that,
You're the only one that has it.
the only one that had it. All in favor? Okay, pass. Unanimous. Okay, cutting this down now. This issue was in a violation and no degree has been appointed fiscally responsibly in the lap of the neighborhood council president if he is not informed or unaware of community concerns or just chosen not to know about community concerns. For example, the 400 plus stakeholders opposed to the residential floor area. Well, it wasn't the president who was against that. But I don't know how we're gonna rule on this.
It's a different designee for each issue. It's if the issue comes up in front of the board and we want somebody to go, the president has the ability to designate a person to go back and check on it and report back. For example, when we have issues on the Granada Hill specific plan, and if that's an issue that comes in front of our board, the president can appoint somebody, designee to go and check it out and report back to us.
And he did.
Right.
I remember, we even hired a gentleman who was well aware of planning and land use issue. In fact, he worked for the city. And we hired him and we had several meetings in which he gave reports. Yeah, I was there, a number of other stakeholders were there, chamber members were there. So he did exactly that.
I move that there's no action needed by us on this issue.
Second.
All in favor?
Hold on.
Yes,
Public comment.
public comment.
Represent or appoint a designee to represent the neighborhood council on issues of community concern. And of course, this is under the president shall in his duties. The president cannot represent the council without board approval. So that's why the grievance panel recommendation is to remove the first represent, not the second represent, because the language here, basically the way it reads, says that the president can represent the neighborhood councils on issues of community concern, but he can only represent the neighborhood council on issues of community concern if those concerns have been ratified or approved by the board.
And they were, but they.
Let me just.
It's just an area
Hold
like
it,
what.
hold it, let Dave speak.
Let him finish what he has to say.
No, I just don't understand, what does it mean to appoint a designee to represent neighborhood councils on issues of community concern? Is this somebody to, it's really kind of vague is the issue. Is it somebody that brings issues into the community that you send out to find out about things? Is it somebody you actually appoint? Or is it, all concerns?
We
Is it
really
specific
want to move
concerns?
this along. He's got an answer for you.
Go ahead.
Look, the language is written that way so that the president is kind of a de facto representative. It doesn't mean, for instance, that there has to be a motion. There are all kinds of meetings and organizations throughout the neighborhood council land. And I'll just give you a couple examples. DWP committee. We've had a DWP committee representative in the past, approved by the neighborhood council. Budget advocate. We've had budget advocates approved by the council. We've had people approved to attend meetings such as Brad Smith, who attended the ad hoc meetings for the regional bylaws committee. All right? So when those people are designated by the council to represent, that's an action of the board. The board doesn't direct them in what they're going to do because we have no idea. Let's just take Brad's example. He attended a half a dozen meetings. How could we possibly, he didn't even know what the subject matter was going to be at the time.
Exactly.
You can't direct somebody under those circumstances. What it means is you're either going to have the president represent if he so chooses, or if the board chooses, or you're going to have the board select a representative for some of these committees. We also have any number of sub-organizations like Valley Alliance of Neighborhood Councils, Los Angeles Alliance of Neighborhood Councils. You've got all these subgroups or groups of neighborhood council committees altogether. None of those neighborhood councils say, Mr. President, go and represent our position on this, unless there's a particular position they want them to bring up to one of these meetings.
Okay.
Otherwise, the people attend, they say, I'm Eric Manster from Granada Hills South Neighborhood Council, and here's my opinion. They're expressing opinions. If there's a particular position that they want represented, then that's fine. The neighborhood council can say, here's a position we want to bring up to bank. Here's a position we want to bring up to the budget advocates. Here's a position we want to bring up to the DWP committee. But to simply say the president shouldn't represent anybody unless a position has been voted on, it makes no sense, because basically the president is tasked as the head of the organization to represent when he's going to meetings and to say, I'm here, I'm representing. It doesn't mean he's taken an official position unless the neighborhood council has voted and directed him to bring that position. Simple as that.
Exactly, and like I said, the last couple of bank meetings I went to, I talked to our president, and he said, remember that the council felt this way about this issue, so if it comes up, please speak to bank on these issues if it comes up. Most of the time, they already have an agenda that I don't know anything about, and so the whole thing, like the last bank meeting, most of it was on budget. But so, I didn't have much to say on that. I reported back to Mr. Schindelheim about what happened, but other than that, there's nothing else that I can talk to. But when you're there, in fact, they want you to say you represent. Because everybody who's there at bank is a member of a neighborhood council. And your position on that council, they want to know how your council will most likely feel about a certain issue that they're going to speak on. Then you take that back to your neighborhood council and say, this is what was brought up. How do we want to proceed with this? But other than that, that's all I am. I'm a representative of my neighborhood council going to a neighborhood council meeting of all the other valley councils and finding out information, finding out what other people are doing. And that's what we're supposed to do. That's how we get some of our information. So I'd say no action.
We have a motion.
I make a motion, we second it.
Yeah.
You vote?
Yeah. All in favor, no action?
Aye.
Aye.
We need to go a little faster so we get to the other issues.
Yeah, I do, Margaret.
We got one of these left.
We got this one. Okay, page 17. Let's see, recommendations.
Both these items have been handled.
All right.
Okay, no action, okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kuzma. Next on the agenda.
Oh, by the way, thank you for taking care of some of those things in advance,
Hey, we're always.
so we can get through it.
Okay, discussion regarding application to amend the neighborhood council, Granada Hills South Council bylaw boundary and incorporate the area between, that's bounded by South Last